They won't see it coming. Not the silence, not the stillness, not the absence of the very energy they fed on. Because you won't scream, you won't beg, you won't explain. You'll vanish. Like a shadow that's learned it's brighter than the light that cast it. This isn't just about letting go. It's about reclaiming control. About becoming a presence that people regret losing. A mind no one can invade. A soul no one can cage. In this video, you'll master the cold art of psychological withdrawal. You'll learn how to detach with precision. Not to escape, but to dominate in silence. We'll walk through how to reverse emotional dependence, weaponize your absence, and build the kind of presence that burns louder than noise. Welcome to modern Stoicism, where we don't react, we calculate, where emotion is dissected and weakness is exiled. If you're tired of being emotionally predictable, if you're ready to build power that doesn't scream for attention, subscribe now, because here we train minds that can't be controlled. Like this video and comment below with the phrase, "I control what I carry and I drop what weighs nothing." Let's begin. 1. Emotional distance is the first form of power. They think closeness means control, that if they stay near you, they can mold your mood, bend your peace, shake your certainty. But the moment you create space, true psychological space, you unmask them. You make their attempts feel desperate. You reveal who needs who. You don't detach to punish. You detach to purify. When you withdraw, you remove yourself from emotional debt. You stop responding to their expectations. And suddenly they panic, because silence is the loudest exposure. This is your first weapon. Distance. Not physical, mental, emotional, energetic. The strongest people aren't cold. They're clear. They know what gets access and what gets ignored. Build walls they can't see. Leave doors they'll never find. And most of all, never explain your absence. Let them feel it. Comment below. My silence is strategy, not surrender. My silence is strength. And if this hit deep, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Modern Stoicism, we don't chase noise. We build internal thunder. 2. Detachment isn't escape. It's evolution. You weren't born reactive. That was taught, conditioned into you, layered over your instincts like rust on steel. Now, every glance, every silence, every insult, you feel it, and they know it. But here's the shift. You don't run to avoid pain. You rise to outgrow it. Detachment isn't abandoning people. It's abandoning weakness. It's refusing to be emotionally hijacked by those who haven't earned a seat at your table. Most people drown in connection, clinging to anyone who smiles. You're going to become the opposite. Rare, untouchable, necessary. The more you evolve, the less you explain. The more silent you become, the more they wonder what they lost. This is what emotional evolution looks like. You stop needing their validation. You stop defending your boundaries. You stop softening your power, just to be accepted by the powerless. You don't chase. You observe. You don't beg. You vanish. You don't threaten. You execute. People don't change when you tell them. They change when you leave. when they realize your absence was the most valuable thing they ignored. So when you detach, do it with precision. Do it with peace. Do it without a single warning. Let them collapse into the weight of your absence. Comment below. I don't detach to hurt, I detach to rise. Like the video, subscribe and activate notifications. Because on modern Stoicism, we don't escape reality. We evolve through it, silently, ruthlessly, and free. 3. Control the frame, or be framed. They don't need to say much. A sigh, a delayed reply, a sudden shift in tone. And just like that, you spiral. Because they control the frame. They define the emotional battlefield. They throw the bait, and you bite, but not anymore. From this point forward, you decide what matters. You decide what gets a response. You define the emotional climate of every room you walk into. That's the power of detachment. It removes you from their narrative. It silences their manipulation. Without a single argument, the moment you stop reacting, they lose control. Their words no longer land. Their tactics begin to rot. Their power collapses because it only worked when you cared too much. They'll make them, here's the brutal truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you let shake you. When you detach, you stop playing their game. You stop explaining yourself. You stop needing them to see your side. Instead, you stand still, unmoved, focused, unreachable. Now they're forced to question everything. Why isn't he responding? Why doesn't she flinch? Why does my chaos feel ignored? That's when they break. Not because you fought, but because you didn't. Comment below. I hold the frame. I don't beg to stay in theirs. And if you're tired of being emotionally framed by others, like this video, subscribe and hit the bell. Because here on Modern Stoicism, we train you to control perception, not be imprisoned by it. 4. Silence is a weapon, not a weakness. They taught you that silence means submission, that if you don't respond, you're losing, that if you don't argue, you're guilty. That silence is weakness. They lied. Silence is sharp. Silence is calculated. Silence is strategy. It's not about shutting down. It's about tuning out the noise until all that remains is control. When you stop speaking, they start listening differently. They lean in. They wonder. They replay your last words in their head, like riddles they can't solve. Silence shifts the power. It creates mystery. And in mystery you become magnetic, untouchable, above their reach. Because silence doesn't explain. It forces reflection. It turns your absence into their mirror. And if they were the problem, they'll feel it echo inside them. When you detach silently, you're no longer trying to win their approval. You're showing them they lost something rare, and you're not coming back to translate your worth. Use silence as a blade, not to hurt, but to cut the cord, to sever the invisible leash. They thought you'd never break. You don't need closure. You don't need validation. You need distance, discipline, and direction. And silence is all three. Comment below. My silence is louder than their noise. And if that spoke to your core, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Modern Stoicism, we don't speak to be heard. We speak only when silence has made them ready to listen. 5. Rejection is a mirror, not a wound. They left you on read. They vanished when you needed them. They talked like you were optional. And for a moment, you believed it. You mistook rejection for your reflection. But it never was. Their silence wasn't truth. It was a mirror of their emptiness, not your value. You gave, and they consumed. You stayed, and they withdrew. You forgave, and they repeated, but now you see it. It was never about your worth. It was about their inability to recognize it. Rejection isn't a wound. It's revelation. It shows you who can't handle your depth. It shows you who only wants the light, but not the fire. So you don't chase. You don't plead. You don't knock twice. Because if they can live without you, they were never breathing in your truth to begin with. Detachment begins when you stop begging people to see you. When you stop translating your soul into a language they never cared to learn. You don't detach because you're cold. You detach because you finally see clearly. You see who clapped when you broke, who flinched at your growth, who only stood close when you stood still. Let rejection guide you. Let it purify your circle. Let it refine your power. Comment below. I don't fear rejection. I respect what it reveals. And if that reshaped how you view pain, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because here at Modern Stoicism, we don't beg to be chosen. We build lives that make silence look like strength. 6. When you're no longer available, they wake up. They never noticed your effort until you stopped offering it. They never valued your presence until you became absent. They never respected your silence until it became permanent. You were accessible, too consistent, too forgiving, too present, and they mistook that presence for permanence. But here's what they never understood. You were the gravity, the one holding it all together, the one answering calls at 2 a.m., the one forgiving without closure, the one staying long after you were drained. You're gone, unavailable, unreachable, and suddenly everything collapses. They text, no reply. They call, no answer. They think you're being cruel. No, you're being clear, because availability without boundaries invites entitlement. It teaches people that your energy is a given. It devalues your time. It exhausts your spirit. And when you finally detach, it stings. Not because you were cold, but because you were the warmth they never learned to hold. Now they replay everything. They scroll through old messages. They sit with a version of you they never thought would vanish. That's not revenge. That's reality catching up. When you're no longer around, they finally see what you were, and it's too late to reach for it. Comment below. My absence will teach what my presence never could. And if that ignited something in you, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because here on Modern Stoicism, we don't chase recognition. We disappear and let the silence speak our value. 7. Detachment ends the addiction to validation. You kept asking, was I too much? Did I say the wrong thing? Do they still care? You weren't curious. You were addicted. Your approval to response, pride to being seen, even by those unworthy of your presence. Validation became a drug, a quiet dependency. You adjusted your tone, edited your fire, softened your boundaries, just to keep their attention. But attention is not respect. It's not love. It's not peace. The more you chased it, the more you lost yourself. But here's the truth. When you detach, you kill that addiction. You stop needing applause. You stop performing. You stop bending just to be accepted. Detachment is sobriety. Oh, it clears the noise. It reminds you who you were before you started seeking reflection in broken mirrors. You don't need to be validated. You need to be remembered by those who never truly knew your depth. And if they never see you again, so be it. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them fill in the blanks with confusion, because you no longer explain your value to people committed to misunderstanding it. Now, you move differently. You speak less. You require nothing. You radiate without effort, and in that stillness, you become dangerous. Comment below. I am done chasing mirrors. I am my own reflection. Your Sen added. And if that freed something inside you, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because at Modern Stoicism, we teach you how to unchain your mind from every false source of power. 8. Not everyone deserves access to you. You were never meant to be common, but you acted like you were. You opened your energy to everyone. The liars, the leeches, the loud ones with empty hands. And each time you called it kindness. But what it really was self-betrayal. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, to your peace, your silence. Answer your energy. You keep giving gold to people who only trade in dust. Here's a hard truth. Loyalty means nothing to people who benefit from your confusion. The more they take, the less they respect. And the more you give, the faster they disappear when you're empty. So now, you close the door, not in anger, in clarity. You stop explaining why your presence is rare. You stop trying to prove that you're worth keeping. You stop handing keys to people who never earned a map. Detachment is boundaries in action. It's you saying, I don't hate you. I just no longer lower myself to be reached by you. You're not cold. You're sacred. You're not distant. You're selective. And that's your power now. Your absence has a price. Your attention has conditions. Your presence is earned, not assumed. Let them knock. Let them wait. Let them feel the silence they created. Comment below. Access to me is earned, not given freely. If that reminded you of your value, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Modern Stoicism, we train you to protect your space, like it's your kingdom. 9. You were the anchor, now you're the storm. You kept them grounded, balanced, centered. Even when you were drowning, you held them afloat. You were the anchor, the one who stayed when everything fell apart. But they never saw it. They thought your stillness meant weakness. They confused your patience with passivity. Until you let go. Until you rose. Until you became the storm. Now they feel the silence as thunder. Now they notice your absence, like a missing foundation beneath a collapsing structure. This is the shift. You're not here to stabilize others anymore. You're here to build yourself, without permission, without apology, without explanation. They should have cherished the anchor, but they ignored it. And now, they can weather the chaos they created. Detachment doesn't make you heartless. It makes you honest. It reveals who depended on your stillness to stay afloat in their own mess. Now they'll say you've changed. Yes, You're no longer available to fix people who repeatedly broke you. You're no longer saving those who watched you burn to keep them warm. You are the storm now. Not destructive, but undeniable. You move with force. You carry truth. You speak through silence. Let them rebuild without you. Let them face what they ignored. Let them collapse under the weight of what you once carried for them. Comment below. I am no longer the anchor. I've become the storm. And if that awakened your power, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because at modern Stoicism, we don't suppress our strength. We sharpen it until it moves mountains. Detachment is the final form of freedom. Freedom isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't scream in rebellion. It comes quietly. It moves through silence. It's when you no longer wait for closure, no longer beg to be seen, no longer explain your soul to those who never looked past your surface. This is your final transformation. You don't detach to isolate. You detach to regenerate. You remove the chains you once called loyalty. You sever the cords wrapped in fate, concern, and conditional care, because real freedom begins when nothing outside you controls how you feel inside. Not their silence, not their chaos, not their approval or rejection. You see it now. Every time you held back your truth, you paid the price in peace. But you're done renting space in your mind to people who never respected its silence. You're no longer available for guilt, for false reconciliation, for emotional puppetry disguised as connection. From this point forward, you walk with calm. You leave without noise. You detach without warning, because you've realized they didn't need more chances. You needed more self-respect. Let them wonder. Let them ache. Let them realize too late what your silence has always screamed. You were the freedom they could never control. Comment below. I am no longer owned by attachment. I live untouchable. And if this monologue helped you reclaim your power, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because at modern Stoicism, we sharpen the mind, seal the soul, and teach you to walk through this world. You're untouchable.